In chapter 1 of his Phenomenology and Perception, Merleau-Ponty spoke of objects as being the mirrors of their environments. So, in other words, the object in its totality is not the one perspective that I perceive it from. Obviously, when I look at an object, I know I only see one particular face of it, and there are infinitely many faces that I could perceive from a different perspective. So when I look at an object, for me to talk about the object in itself, in its entire existence, I need to take into account every single one of those perspectives in one instant. That is the entire object, or the object is a mirror of its environment. All of the perspectives in its environment compose the total being of the object. In order to take a look at that description of objects as it relates to the body as an object, because in chapter 2, Merleau-Ponty looks at this examination, or this interpretation of the body as an object, and sort of questions the validity of that. Because he shows how, to some extent, the part of my body that is visible, the lower half, say, up to about on my face, is easily objectified because it is within my visual scope. And the part that I cannot see, one might say, well, look at a mirror, and then you can objectify your face. Like I look onto my computer screen right now and see my own face reflected back to me. But Merleau-Ponty rejects that and says this still isn't an objectification of the body because real objects exist and behave independently of my own internal sense of acting in the world. So when I view myself in front of a mirror, I'm viewing an imitation of myself. I'm not viewing a real free acting body separate from my own existence. I'm viewing my own self imitated. So this still, for Merleau-Ponty, is not an objectified body. He wants to say that the body cannot be objectified. As when I touch an object with my right hand, say the base of my computer, and then I touch that hand with my other arm, I cannot touch my right arm with my left arm like I touch the computer with my right arm. So let's do the camera. I touch the camera with my right finger, and I feel it through my body. And then I touch my right arm with my left finger as though it were an object for my left finger, but yet I cannot touch my right arm like I touch the camera with my right finger. It's not the same. The right finger touching the camera, allows me to objectify the camera as an object in the world. But my left hand cannot objectify my right arm as an object in the world because as soon as I touch my right arm, I am in immediate connection with this sensation. I feel my left finger and my right arm at the same instant. Therefore, it is much like the mirror example. I'm almost imitating immediately my own action on my arm with my left finger with the sensory apparatus in my right arm. I'm almost mirroring myself right here. So there's two layers. The presence and absence of external objects, Merleau-Ponty says, are only variations within a field of primordial presence, the presence of the body. This primordial presence is a perceptual domain over which my body exercises power. So the presentation of objects in perspective cannot be understood except through the resistance of my body to all variation of perspective, says Merleau-Ponty. So the body resists the variation of perspective, and in so doing gives rise to its own perception. So the resistance of the variation of perception The resistance of the variation of perspective gives rise to perception, in Merleau-Ponty's way of speaking. And I quote Merleau-Ponty again, "Thus the permanence of one's own body, if only classical psychology had analyzed it, might have led to the body no longer conceived of as an object in the world, but as our means of communication with it, to the world no longer conceived of as a collection of determinate objects, but as the horizon latent in all our experience and itself ever present and anterior to every determining thought." So Merleau-Ponty wants us to look at the world not as a collection of determinate objects that exist out there in themselves as a quantity of things. He wants to view it as the horizon of what our body is aware of what I can perceive. That is the world for me. The world in itself, the it world, is a mental project, a mental abstraction. It exists because I bring it into existence through reflection. It does not exist because I observe it in the world, because that observing it in the world is already a function of this mental abstraction. I didn't learn to use this tool called observation, this technique that I've developed, by observing something. No, I created the technique first and then observed. So instead of that, he wants us to view the world as the horizon of our perceptual experience. This is a very profound idea.